What to do when evidence admissibility is challenged. Imagine you're in a courtroom, and suddenly someone questions whether the evidence you just presented can actually be used. What happens next? Well, this is a common situation in trials, and knowing how to handle it can make a big difference. When the admissibility of evidence is challenged, there are clear steps to follow to keep the process fair and legal. First, the party who wants to exclude the evidence usually files a formal motion before or during the trial. These motions include a motion to suppress, which argues that the evidence was obtained improperly or violates constitutional rights, and a motion in limine, which asks the court to decide if certain evidence should be kept out before the trial begins. These motions help the judge decide if the evidence is legally acceptable without the jury being influenced. During the trial, if evidence is introduced and someone objects, the objection must be made right away. The objection should specify the legal reason, like hearsay, privilege, or improper form. The judge then decides whether to sustain the objection, meaning the evidence is not allowed, or overrule it, meaning the evidence can be used. If the judge sustains the objection, the evidence is not shown to the jury. If a witness has already given inadmissible testimony, a motion to strike can be made to remove that testimony from the record. When the judge rules on the evidence, the party must make sure to preserve the issue for appeal by objecting at the right time and explaining why. If evidence is excluded, the party should offer proof of its substance to keep a record for future review. Sometimes, the judge may decide to exclude evidence on their own if it is highly prejudicial or does not meet legal standards. This is part of the judge's role to keep the trial fair. Cross-examination also plays a part in challenging evidence. Lawyers can use it to point out weaknesses or inconsistencies in the opposing side's evidence, but they cannot go beyond the scope of what was directly examined. Throughout the process, hearings outside the jury's presence may be held to discuss admissibility issues, so the jury isn't influenced by evidence that might be unfair or irrelevant. The judge's job is to weigh the value of the evidence against any unfair prejudice it might cause. To sum up, when evidence admissibility is challenged, parties file motions and make objections. The judge evaluates these challenges through hearings and rulings, and only evidence that meets legal standards is allowed to be presented to the jury. This process helps keep courtroom proceedings fair and ensures that only proper evidence influences the case.